Check, check, check. Right with you, folks. Carlos. There it is. What's up, folks? Turn this bad boy down here. How are ya? Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. It's your boy, Stevie Lew. Hello, how are ya? It's been a while. It's been a little bit. A lot going on. I was supposed to go live yesterday. I had the spirit. I had the wind beneath my wings yesterday during the day after Be Dabbling Live. That's my spot, I feel, in the afternoon. I even sent a post out to the internet, to the Twitter world. I said, hey, does anybody want to come on and do a show with me? And got some interesting responses, some stuff I definitely want to look into in the near future. But a certain person reached out and said, I would love to jump on. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's someone who I've been trying to get on the show for quite some time now, like a week. And just schedules are weird. So we try to push things back. When his schedule was free yesterday, I don't want to throw him under the bus here completely, but he was kind of like, all right, I can go on later. We planned on it. And then Kevin Brennan went live. And I mean, I know someone else is live right now. We'll get into that in a second, but Kevin Brennan is the only person that I'm going to absolutely respect when it comes to streaming at the same time. I hope you can understand that. Some of you might call me a jerk off pussy. You might have the point already, but that's how it is. So we had to punt Look at this motherfucker, insufferable bastard, saying Baba Booey. That's an old Howard Stern thing. I understand. So anyway, yep, we decided to do it today. So without any further ado, let me just get this guy going here. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen, to the one and only. How do I get you? My Sorcerer, the Sorcerer.
Hey,
You want to
how
give me
are
a little
you?
sound check? You sound good,
Yeah,
buddy.
can you hear me?
Very good.
Can you hear me okay?
You sound good. How do I sound for you?
You're fine. Yeah, I just
Good.
I just would love not to have to wear the headphones. That'd be awesome.
Nah, it's okay. Yeah, I'm not a stickler like Adam Hineker is, part of the MLC podcast. Producer Adam is he's a headphone guy, but I'm okay with it, man. How are you today? It's Sunday. You enjoying yourself there or what?
I'm good. I have noticed that the lines at Costco and Wegmans are a lot shorter on St. Patrick's Day. It's just there's not a lot of uh, white guys between 20 and 40 walking around Wegmans right now. They're all
So
kind of in green down the street.
you're saying that's a little life hack for those of you a little older, is that the great day to go to those usual busy places is St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, I remember the one of the more depressing days of my life was the first medical school year where I didn't go out on St. Patrick's Day because I had a test that week. So you're sitting in your apartment studying, like thinking I'm not going to pass this test, nothing's going to go well, and you just see all these people in green flooding past you in the streets, just having the craziest time.
Yeah, you don't have to dox what school you were at, but what city were you in when you were at
I
school?
was in the East Coast, like Northeast.
Yeah. See, like in New York City, it's a complete amateur hour shit show where you see, people vomiting and making out and vomiting at the same time. It's just absolutely a sight to
Yeah,
see. So I try to,
I'd imagine you
try,
avoid it.
yeah, I try to, I try to. But what are you gonna
So
do? I tried to go to the donuts shop today before the show. They got these special green donuts. And now people were like, "Oh, Stevie, green donuts." I get it. I know what you're saying. No. This is not a THC thing. This is actually just the green frosting. And the line was out the door, so I turned around. I wanted to catch up with you today. So
well,
this is
I
freaking
appreciate
awesome,
it.
man.
I also turned down a Shamrock Shake to be here, so that's
Oh man,
yeah, yeah.
I should go get one later. Before we start, I just wanted to say that this is a podcast for entertainment purposes only. Okay, nothing here should be considered actual medical advice. While my guest here may be very well accomplished in his field, it goes up without saying that don't go to a podcast if you're having problems, including myself. Okay.
Right.
Seek
Right.
actual assistance. There are many resources out there for all walks of life, as a matter of fact, whether you're a Chad Zumach or you're a William Borgeson, you can get help,
Yeah.
folks. So,
Yeah, especially New York. New York is the mecca of that. There's as opposed to most other places, there are a ton of psychiatrists, which is kind of rare these days. But speaking of not being medical advice, how's the arm?
yeah, it's getting better. It's definitely getting better, but I'm still in this like first week where it's healing and I could feel a lot of pain, unfortunately. So I've been like kind of having rough sleep patterns. I don't know. I'm more restless than normal as far as getting, a good night's rest. So I've been trying to relax and take it easy. I think this week leading up, my plan is to just only address the arm situation, go see find a good orthopedist. I had a little bit of trouble this week locking one down. Fortunately, my HR department at work is going to give me a hand, because this is a workman's comp situation, and just resting and getting this treated this week. So
It's interesting where you got the fractures, kind of one of the only places on your arm where you don't have a main stalk of a nerve kind of running underneath it. The radial nerve kind of goes around the side and also kind of stops right before you get to that distal portion of your forearm. So if you're going to break your arm, that's probably one of the better places to break it.
I guess so. I mean, at the end of the day, though, just all life functions are affected. You're really put at a disadvantage, and you don't realize it until it happens to you, how little movement that one bone is, active for. Like just raising my hand above my shoulder, I can't really do so well. And, it's feeling a lot better now, where it was kind of feeling pain the whole time. Now I can feel it just setting by itself, and it won't start hurting right away. So it's like, okay, that's progress. It's progress. So we're not going to sit here and talk about my injuries here the whole time. Let's go to the chat real quick. And also, I wanted to say, I guess, if folks do want to ask any specific questions for the Sorcerer or myself, I think the best bet would be to shoot me a Venmo or a PayPal. I'm sorry, Sorcerer, we didn't discuss this before the show at all. And if this is a problem, we could say scrap that idea. But if people do want to ask any specific questions, and we'll keep them within reason, of course,
Sure.
you could go ahead and just, I don't have the super chat function set up just yet. So if you did want to shoot, I have got my phone here. If you shoot a PayPal or a Venmo and you have a question involved, honestly, any amount. We're not going to say like a minimum or anything, but if you don't have a question, you just want to support, that's good too. At the end of the day, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, watch the shows. I'm almost there. I'm not almost there, but I've got a while to go for my watch hour minimum to get to the monetization zone. So we're working on it. We're going to get there. So thanks for checking in, and thank you, Sorcerer, for jumping on with me. And again,
yeah, no problem. I wondered if we could start somewhere. I had an idea for a conversation based on shows from last week, kind of before the arm.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're keying in. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, I did not mean for that to come up. Call Joe ASAP. He needs help. No, it's okay. Joe's going to be all right. We can get to that later. But yeah, there's a lot been going on. And yes, I think you're probably talking about the 2 Saturdays ago, not this past Saturday, the Saturday before, where we had my good buddy Billy Kammerer was a part of that episode. Is that what we're getting?
Yeah, and then kind of the spillover on MLC about kind of that night about there's a moment there that I wanted to talk about, because I think it'd be interesting to dive into, because I think it also would apply to, in general, understanding how comedy works, understanding maybe what's going on with Joe Matarese, also what's going on with other kind of characters in this world. But I wanted to talk it through with you, because I thought it'd be interesting to see where it went in our conversation and see if it is applicable or if it does help or have an impact. And if that's okay with you, I wanted to start with.
Yeah. So sure, let's go ahead. Let's break it on.
There was I brought up kind of on an episode of MLC, this understanding from a psychoanalytic kind of a therapy perspective, kind of understanding the human mind, that comedy is this conscious projection into an unconscious expectation that reemerges or gets triggered into a kind of reactive assumption. And the difference between kind of what's stated and what the unconscious expectation is, the difference between those two kind of elements, it gets filled in with laughter. So, the idea of you're setting up
you hope it gets laughter. That's the
right. So, and that's the idea of laughter is this kind of release of this energy that we had in this one expectation that gets kind of moved to the other. So, it's the big strong guy who acts, timid. It's the a joke about a nun with a nun's dirty. On a very kind of basic premise, that's the idea, is it's expectation and kind of the twist on it. And the longer and farther the twist is, the more humor there is there. I was wondering, and again, these are not me as a comic, me as a psychiatrist, kind of understanding you and comics in general. Where do you find, outside of the dad humor for stoner humor for guys who don't have, I forget exactly how it goes, but that's very funny.
My words, yes, those were my words.
Yeah. What would you say, if we started with, what do you think your kind of projection is when people see you comedically? What's the character that you're painting for them? What's like when they see you, what you look like, what you're talking about? When you're talking about yourself before the joke or in between the jokes, what character are you creating for people?
Yeah, interesting. I feel that's something that I never probably got all the way to focus on like what my persona was and what like the meaning behind me going on stage was at the point that I got to. Because to be honest, my number one concern was writing jokes and continuing to write jokes that were good, and if they weren't good, fix them, or just how to be a performing comedic successfully comedian on stage was my number one goal. But then secondly, yeah, I guess if I did want to try to break it down, I wanted to be seen as kind of like one of your more intelligent comics. I know this is probably, people are smashing their phones or their radios right now hearing me say that, but you know, the guys that I always looked up to were the Louis CKs, the George Carlins, you know, even uh like the Bill Hicks and stuff like that, which I know I'm not like that sort of comedian. I was way much more of like maybe a Mitch Hedberg ripoff style with a little less drug, you know. So that was my kind of image of
that's
myself.
a great example of what I'm talking about. So if you think about Louis C.K. specifically, so I don't know if he's like, if his image is that he portrays is that he's intelligent. I think we've come to learn that he's intelligent by watching his comedy. But if you think about him, he's kind of this chubby, balding guy with glasses who's fairly ordinary in terms of clothes he's wearing. He's not very commonly in a suit. He's not very commonly in not that he's in bad clothing, but like he's in very plain clothes. He kind of strikes me as an everyman, kind of a get along, like in a crowd guy is kind of his, like, at least his initial projection. And I think that the playing off of it and kind of all the other things is part of it. I think about what makes him so funny. But if you think about intelligent comics, you know, Woody Allen looks kind of intelligent, maybe more neurotic than intelligent. Right. Are there any example? I guess Bill Hicks, like the leather jacket phase, didn't really seem intelligent. But George Carlin, that's a great one. He looks like an old guy who could have been, you know, he looks like he could have been wise and intelligent and calm. And playing off of that with all the energy and anger and yelling, kind of, that's where a lot of the humor comes out of. Do you dress like you're like that when you go and do these
yeah. So yeah, when I was doing stand up, that was also like first getting into it in my like young to mid 30s. So I did have like this weird stage where I could still dress like I'm Ray DeVito, you know, right, where I was trying to look hip, even though I was starting to age out of the hipness. And that's something that I became conscious of when I started to get into my later 30s, 40s, where I was like, holy shit, I may have to actually, because I used to work a desk job and then come home, take that desk job outfit suit off, wear some jeans and t-shirt and throw a hat on, and then go do comedy, because that's what I thought that should be, you know, my look. Then I started to realize, man, I'm starting to get old. Maybe I should wear a sweater and a pair of slacks, you know, because you did see other comedians who had the mindset to transition as they got older. Look at a guy like Kevin Dombrowski. I'm not sure if you know Kevin Dombrowski very well, but like he's a guy who wears a respectable adult's outfit when he goes on stage now and, you know, does his thing, whereas maybe 10 years ago he was still kind of doing like the I'm affable, I am not aggressive, don't be scared of me. Because that's the thing too, is that I'm 6, you're a larger guy too, we've you know stood eyeball to eyeball. As much of a common day guy as I want to be, I'm still gangly as all hell, 6'6", and I think like a sore thumb. You know,
I think so I think that would be an interesting character, because I think that actually matches a lot of your personality, kind of the like the protective stoner.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like tall, big guy. The weird thing I think is kind of you've had that kind of coupled into you, linked into you, and I think there's like a morality to you that is mirrored in your size. Kind of the protective, like, you know, I don't bully guys. I help guys who are getting bullied type of personality. Does that
yeah. Like when people started to call me a bully for the way I handled Ray DeVito, that like offended me and made me upset more than anything else anyone's ever said. They called me every fucking horrible thing in the world. But when people were like, you were just bullying Ray by saying you were going to go do this and that. And like looking back, I thought I was just responding to him continually pushing a button that wasn't funny, and he wasn't going for any joke. He was just trying to really needle my situation. So I ended up kind of seeing red, we call it, being backed into a corner. And then a lot of people took that as me trying to bully him. And I was like, fuck, okay, I could see how people see that. But it also really pissed me off because like I try to be a good citizen, like a good human. That is something that I've absolutely tried to do all of my life, whether it's my parents bringing me to church and going to volunteer and stuff when we were young, or having to continue to like pitch in when things come up in the community.
But I think that the punchlines that the times where you really shine, and at least as a kind of observer, I'm not even sure what it's called, but yeah, a fan kind of watching you perform. It's when it's then you work off of that, and the punchlines are intelligent, like that spree where you were like the super chat whisperer. I think the reason it was funny is because here's Stevie, who's like the stoner guy, and the rest of us are sober. But Stevie understands the super chats. That there's the gap between, you'd expect the stoner guy to be like, I don't know, man. Instead, it's oh yeah, he's referencing this guy who is a general in the Revolutionary Army. Like what? Like why is the like affable stoner, like Lenny stoner guy, like why does he know so much about insert topic here?
I do have a kind of an encyclopedic mind, a trivial mind. That's it's trivial information is kind of one of my specialties, which again, it's trivial, so it's not very deep.
Oh.
It's surface level, but I could even shout out to big Stevie Lew, the real Stevie Lew, who I say I'm the realest Stevie Lew. There's a Stevie Lew in my hometown that made me, that is the real fucking Stevie Lew. And we used to watch Jeopardy every night, like almost as a family together. And I remember there was a time when I started fucking nailing questions at a young age because it was like stuff that I could just pick up on and shit. So
there's another guy named Stevie Lew.
Yeah, my dad. It's my dad.
Oh, it's your dad. Okay.
I was being very cryptic and mysterious. I don't know why I was being so poetic right there, but yeah.
No worries. Yeah, that was much weirder. You're like,
is also
two Lew families were in the same small town.
No, it's exactly. It's like that's so stupid. Okay, so is there more about that?
So the reason I brought this up was that Saturday when you were saying like, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Like, what do you want me to do? When you were like, I think it was you've been beaten up. You were fighting with Ray, and and then you just started doing Buscetti lines, which I thought was a fun recovery. You're like, I'll just do but it was obvious you were like, you seemed very, really like fatigued, or what was that? What was that experience like that night?
Yeah. So that night I wasn't drinking with the guys, and like those Saturday shows become a bit of a thing where, like I absolutely have some substance abuse stuff in my family, myself personally. I definitely have been one to, overindulge certain things. I do also know how to have a good time occasionally. It's just the line gets blurred occasionally. So like that night I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have a good show, hang out, relax, but not drink. And I thought that I absolutely had zero energy. I didn't get any beer energy out of it, and I couldn't perform properly and bring myself up for whatever reason. I think just the waves had been crashing all week over and over again. And I definitely said to myself, oh shit, everybody's been calling me a hothead bully this week. So let me just go in and be relaxed and just kind of riff and show my comedic value in other ways here. And it just wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. And Kevin picked up on it and started to like drill into me a little bit. And then I definitely, when I had that little yell moment, I kind of was, again, I felt maybe I backed myself into a corner here instead of like saying I was backed into a corner. Maybe I kind of put myself in the corner, and like I saw him saying, fucking Stevie, do something. And what do I do best? Freak the fuck out. Ask anybody who's known me for a long time, or my wife. So I do definitely have ability to snap.
Yeah, I mean, look, who doesn't have anger history? Certainly it's a very common issue we all struggle with. But The interesting thing to me is I actually I don't know if I know you ever as an angry guy. That's probably the first time that I saw like kind of anger. I think frustration and like kind of little bouts of it, but I don't think like anger isn't how you do your punchlines. Anger isn't how you like perform when you're on
Right.
MLC. Anger isn't really, if anything, the character that you're kind of mostly kind of portraying, at least to me as a viewer, is like this very kind of nice, kind guy who likes to, chill out.
Okay.
And so like the anger is so like opposite of it.
Yeah.
But it was,
I
yeah, it
do
was
have
just,
I have a confrontational sliver to me, I guess, though it does pop out sometimes. We've seen it with the famous East Side Dave desk smash
oh
incident.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
kind of was my moment there. And I was having some stuff with Pat Dixon a year ago or so when the whole Gino incident was unfolding, where I was kind of absolutely antagonizing him and trying to confront him, where he kind of almost didn't really, he was saying he didn't want to, but then he would then take some subtle digs at me, which would then further enrage me, which was probably
Yeah.
kind of fun for the folks at home. So I do see what probably he was going with. And thankfully we were able to, I personally at least think that me and Pat have come to a complete different, understanding of that whole situation, all things being considered. So,
Yeah, he's
uh,
a poor guy. I think I guess he heard he lost his YouTube channel.
yeah, yeah, that put him. And I mean, not that he just lost his YouTube channel; it was that he was doing really well with it,
Oh,
which is probably is another second kick in the balls. But it also shows that there is people, community now. Pat's really built up a even bigger community than he had, I think, before the punch. So that's another thing to think about too, is that like he did have a very, very strong, supportive New York crime report community and audience. But I think once that happened, the incident with Gino and the 2 years now, it's been like almost 2 years since, and all of the different storylines, I think now Pat is like coming to a whole new, better, even like even more multifaceted character that can be followed and can be successful. So I do hope Pat gets his sea legs back on. I hope that YouTube overturns his ban. Like I don't think that's going to happen, but it sucks that YouTube is the easiest place to make money right now. And if you can't be on YouTube for whatever reason, you have to fucking fight an uphill battle.
yeah, yeah. What do you think you said like you got a new kind of community. What do you think makes up this MLC? Who are these? Stuttering John, maybe even like a little bit of compound, like run in, run off. I mean, is it the O&A Howard Stern? Is that kind of the best way to bracket it?
Yeah, but we're not that big, because like our Howard Stern O&A is something that we can never see again. The limited options of media at those times like
Yeah,
allowed those guys to really run roughshod, and like they earned it, but there were no other options. And like nowadays, what mass media is kind of ultra vanilla. It's been deballed. They've taken away the good shit, so now people have to go and find you know more niche communities, more hyper local sort of stuff, to be entertained. If you're used to more aggressive, more out there stuff, more real stuff. This is what we're doing right now, man. This is as real as it gets. And like we got a couple of folks watching right now, and I think we'll get a bunch more to watch this later. But the people that are watching this right now are sick and tired of what's on TV. They're sick and tired of even what YouTube is feeding them, because they're certainly not feeding them me right now. So I think that's what you're seeing, is that people who are just searching for something new, and this is new, and can be exciting. Look, I mean, I got nunchucked in the street this week, and like
it is.
there was a
It is.
huge response. So
Yeah, unbelievable that you got nunchucked. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird because there's certainly a component of it that is looking for entertainment, but I wonder if the kind of criteria for being entertained is also somewhat lower with the ability to find whatever you want. So like, the amount of effort they used to put into these shows when there were very limited choices, the competition being, as it were, production was very high, scripting was very high. And now with the ease of YouTube, you can get a show that has figured out some of the nuances of interaction and doesn't really have to do much prep and doesn't have to have much production and is reasonably successful.
Yeah, you're on to your own stuff here. You get no budget. Like those big shows used to get big budgets, so now you kind of have to you're on your own. You rest on your own laurels here with this, and you got to be creative. I think the real thing that also helps, and I experience this phenomenon all the time, is that watching something live is always better than watching something replayed. Almost always, whether it's I watch a lot of live concerts and stuff. You could watch a streaming live concert, one of the jam bands that I love, the Disco Biscuits, and like there is something just sitting at home, even though I'm on the couch watching their show up in Boston last night at home while it's being streamed high definition live. My speakers were fucking bumping. My neighbor was knocking on the wall at midnight last night. I felt terrible, but I was like, this is great. Whereas I'd still want to listen to that show if I didn't have that option, like after the fact. But like, there's just something about being live with the viewer and the audience, I think, that really gives it an extra level.
Yeah, I guess the biggest difference is it's an unknown outcome while you're watching it live. Like there's still that you don't know what's going to happen next. Whereas it's been recorded and it's in the can, so to speak. You kind of know if anything did happen, you would have heard about it.
Yeah, Ski Mask might take his dick out. It's a shared experience too. Speaking of a shared experience, I guess Insufferable Bastards is saying that I'm Carlos Dangers.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, I like him a lot.
He's saying that I'm sharing with Kevin Brennan. Let's check in with the super chatters. Jesus, no one sent any Venmos or PayPals. I didn't expect it, but
that's probably for the best.
Give it a shot, right? You got to give it a shot. Yeah. I think when you kind of do the whole begging thing, it doesn't really work out so well. Jason Bardo X is checking in, shouting out the Sorcerer. Dominic, we would have been more surprised if you didn't put the name in the title. I mean, I held off.
That's fair.
Mentioning, let's see if let's pull us both out. Hold on one second. Yeah. I threw that up just before we went live. And I thought that maybe some people would still be confused. I don't know why. It's kind of a Harry Potter sort of thing too. It was the Sorcerer, Harry Potter, and the Sorcerer Stone. Sorry. So
yeah,
I did some,
it's some synergy. We could get some Harry Potter fans. That's good. I like that.
There's probably some really confused young adult wizard fans that are like, what is this? Who are they?
Yep, like Hagrid's lost a little bit of weight and got a haircut. And, I thought he died. It's like, no. He's doing a podcast. And he went to
is the Dabbleverse a wizard's curse?
Yeah, that would be that'd be a really fun Dabbleverse Harry Potter show. That would be a hilarious. Just trying to crowbar that in.
Muggles. I got my Muggles. I'm gonna start calling my super chatters Muggles, and they're not even super chatters. I keep saying that because I'm so used to being on the big show.
You'll get there. I'm sure after this episode.
This is my boy Mike Walsh checking in. Mike Walsh, I've known since like 2003. He is another big fan of the Disco Biscuits and live music. He lived in my area back in the day, and he's a big buddy of mine on Twitter. It's great because the Disco Biscuit scene has like a Twitter universe, and so does our scene. So right now I'm kind of got my feet in both pools, and occasionally some of the Dabbleverse people will cross post and start trolling my Disco Biscuit posters, thinking that they're gonna like fuck stuff up for me. And like the Biscuit fans are so hardcore and have seen all that shit for years, they can't be bothered. So it's cool.
Is Disco Biscuits? I'm not really familiar. Is it close to like Fish?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Simply put, but it's kind of like is karate close to jiu-jitsu?
Okay. That's fair enough.
In the same ballpark, but
I agreed to go down to a Fish concert in Dover in August with my cousin who's younger, and he was like, hey, this would be great, and blah blah. And I was like, well, where are we staying? He goes, oh, I think we'll get a tent. If you want to get your own tent, we'll have 2 tents. And I was like, no, I'm gonna book a hotel room, and we're gonna get a car, and we're gonna get seats where like I can leave. Like I don't know what this is, and I'm willing to go with you because I'm an adult, but like I'm not staying in a park.
But you're in.
What? Oh yeah. No, I booked everything.
Oh my God. Yeah. So the great band Fish is doing, they only do this once every so often. They'll do a festival in the summer. Yes. So you're going to the Big Fish Festival that they planned in Dover, Delaware. So which is great because it's the kind of thing where you want to be as far away from civilization as possible when you go to this sort of thing. But that is the more adult way to handle it, especially if someone can, agree to be the DD for the night, then going in and out of campus.
He's a great guy. He used to live here. He moved out west for work, and I don't see him very often. He's like, hey, I was going to come up for this thing. And he's like, do you want to come? And it's, I don't know what this is, and I'll Google it, but like, I'm also not going to sleep in the woods to see you. But
because there's no sleeping. You don't, if you go the tent route, you're not going to go to sleep because you're basically partying all night, and then as soon as the sun comes up, it's like fucking 100 degrees in your tent. So you're basically talking about getting a few nights of sleep. Most people are on drugs the whole time, So yeah, I've had a great time at these things. I mean, people will get an RV. Yeah. No, you'll be surprised. There is like enough successful human beings that are Fish fans that like not everybody's completely stumbling over, but you know what? It's really cool. They spend millions of dollars on the production for just the festival site itself. Whenever they do this sort of thing, they make it an absolute adult playground. It's a total bacchanal affair, whether you're tripping balls or not. They bring in like this artist installation team to build beautiful stuff, and they're like doing little side performances with performance artists and stuff around the festival grounds. They'll have a Ferris wheel and everything. They really will basically create like a 20,000, 30,000 person city in the fucking woods of Dover, Delaware this summer. So
that's wild. I found a ticket for an area that has like a bathroom and air conditioning and like a seat. So I told him like, you go do whatever you want. I'm going to be sitting here. Yeah.
It's called like the Glenn Close package they call it. Actually, it's really funny that you're signing up. That's great. That's the way to do it, man. If you can, look at that Gummy Chainsaw checking in, and Gummy Chainsaw is an amazing artist, an actual artist visually, who says that his insurance only covers podcast psychology. Sorcerer is an actor. He has an IMDb page. All right, we're not going to get into that. I don't know what that's all about.
But
Joe Battery's try.
I was just saying, I wish I probably would do very well as an actor. Well, actually, no, I'm glad I'm not an actor. I'd say probably just. Well, I don't think most of them do very well. And,
I was worried that was some sort of weird dox, so I moved on. I know people do say that you look like Haley Joel Osment sometimes.
I got that for a while, yeah.
Kind of
the guy that I thought was most interesting. There's one is like a gun guy who like is really into like reviewing different guns and has a beard and long hair.
Oh, Donut Operator, I think.
Is right? that what it is?
I think that might be the guy. I could see that. Yeah. That D Gulag says in Sorcerer we trust. Very good. Okay. Call Joe ASAP. Someone saying he needs help. I think that's just a troll. We're not going to get too much into.
He seems like he's getting back into that. I mean, Joe Matarese.
Yeah. I guess Joe's number got out there recently, so people are. It's not fun.
Yeah, I think Carlos Danger was referencing our conversation about kind of your projected versus kind of unconscious, and then how to pull the jokes out.
I was following with you, man.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think the idea is like you choose a character, you choose these things, and even the way you talk, you choose this kind of projection. It doesn't even really have to be you, but if it is, it's even, I think, more authentic. And then you just make sure you just simulate what that guy would do, and just never do that as the punchline, and it's always kind of funny. And the farther away from that, it is, it's funnier. And the more clever and more times you can do that, the funnier it gets. And I think that's why, like, if I were a guy who's famous on the radio and famous on TV, the fact that I'm even doing a podcast is funny because it's not what you expect from someone who is that famous for that long. Or if I was someone who's like a guy who's on Letterman and like very like took comedy very seriously, you wouldn't expect me to be so mad about things. And that's really funny. Like it's the unconscious expectations of these characters are constantly being flipped on their heads, and then no one's really doing it on purpose, but it's hilarious.
Like one of my metaphors that I used before when you're doing comedy is you want to be the guy who is a waiter who walks up to the table, couple out for dinner, and you take their order, and then you pull the tablecloth out from the table, and the glasses still sit there, and they're like, "Whoa, what the fuck? Wait, how did he do that? Holy shit!" Like, that's not what I expected here, but that was incredible. And I'm just gonna just sit here and marvel. It's kind of like a little bit of a magician's trick, but without like an actual trick. It's just a skip.
Let me ask you this: which waiter would make that more impressive? The young guy who's got like a fitted polo shirt and like spiky black hair, who's in shape, or the like 80-year-old guy who's like mumbling and hunched over before he does it?
You'd like the 80-year-old mumbly guy, I think, right?
Right. So the same idea is it's impressive and it's completely unexpected.
Yeah, I think this is more of a discussion that I hope Ray DeVito will somehow get his hands on, because again, he's still out there, and he'll tell you 1,000 times he's still picking up a pen and doing stand-up out there, and he's wearing that young man's outfit out there, and I don't think we can ever really change. Right?
It's interesting when you're doing therapy. It's a similar issue because when you start doing therapy, you're trying to memorize all the questions, and you're trying to think about what should I say next. Then when you get very good at therapy, you're spending all your time just listening and responding or reflecting what they say back to you. In terms of getting the other person to hear themselves talk is a huge part of what a therapist does. But the idea of your unconscious, or what your projection is, or we call it the transference, where the feeling that the patient has about you kind of emotionally and unconsciously, you leverage that quite often for your benefit. For example, we did meet in person. I'm a really big guy.
Yes.
So the automatic transference a lot of people get is intimidation, or at least like, a little bit of, cautiousness or whatever else. So I can leverage that by being very vulnerable or funny, or kind of not that character very early in a conversation. And when I break that unconscious transference, the person's like, oh, well, maybe I don't know what this guy's about, or maybe like my assumptions aren't correct. And it's that understanding what my patient's expectations are, and then pushing back against them. Like if someone comes in and they're super against being there, and the reason they're there is their wife says like, she said I have to come here, she's gonna leave me.
It's probably like, 70 to 80% of the guys that are coming into therapy.
Right. And you're like, you're right. This is complete nonsense. This is a scam. Like it seems ridiculous. What do you want to talk about? And then like, oh yeah, this is a scam. Yeah, I'm feeling a little insecure about it. And then the therapy starts anyway. But it's, they would have expected the psychiatrist to be like, no, this is so you playing with the unconscious is something that we do in therapy. Sure. When you're doing good therapy all the time. And that's part of what I really love about this world is a couple of people are doing it consciously. Most people are doing it without knowing it, but there's so much of like what you would expect should be happening. None of it is happening. It doesn't make any sense. And I can't stop watching it. It makes my wife want to murder me sometimes, that it's constantly playing in the background, but it's always on.
Yeah. Eventually you're going to have to be doing it after hours, under a blanket. It's going to be fun. All right. But there's definitely, I feel like there are some parallels here then that you're picking up and putting down between being a therapist and being a comedian, very subtle stuff here, but I do see what you're saying there. And then, with the trust sort of thing with even my therapist alone, we established a trust, and she was able to do this a long time ago. And I do see a female therapist, I will say, about talking about drug use and drug and alcohol use. She confided in me that she used to be a drug and alcohol addict, a user, and was able to kind of get right. And, it doesn't really use much anymore, but was at one point. And like that was something that really kind of clicked with me, where I felt, holy shit, okay, like she used to party too. Fuck, I could trust her if I tell her about how I don't really party anymore, but if I do happen to maybe slip, like say in Atlantic City and do a couple 2 bump bobs, I could feel okay with saying that to her. And she will say to me, like, okay, like, you don't feel like vulnerable talking about your drug use with me. And I honestly have this bizarre sort of openness and comfortability to be sharing with her, and I do see like a good value in that. So
it makes sense. If you know that about her, you can assume that she's compassionate with herself, because she'd have to be in order to be vulnerable and tell you about that. She couldn't have just compartmentalized it. And if she's able to be compassionate with herself, then obviously she could be compassionate with you whenever you talk about it. And then there's also like shared vocabulary, and she'll know what things mean without you having to go too far in depth in explaining them, so you can get the vulnerability part over with quickly, and then kind of discuss after. But yeah, a lot of people that do the drug and alcohol world, a lot of them, we call it like a reactive projection, where someone who goes through something and then they want to help others who are going through it afterwards. A lot of people get into our, that world
sure.
through that mechanism, for sure. But it sounds like she's like a therapist. So
yeah, I do have a very good doctor and all that, so I do appreciate, and it's something that just comes up occasionally, not something that she forces on me, thankfully. But it's always a great thing, because she was also someone who I absolutely took me time to, get comfortable with. And I think that's got to be the same thing for the overwhelming majority of anybody who goes into a therapy situation. I did happen to start therapy in the first place with couples therapy with my wife and I, and then that opened up to me going to my own individual stuff. So, something I definitely wasn't so sure about at first. So it took some time to kind of break me open.
Yeah, have you heard it's a scam? I'm kidding.
A lot of people will go. I think that the medical field in general right now gets a very bad rap. I'm in the middle of it right now with my whole situation. I kind of got bogged up immediately, and I'm now gonna have to just reach out to my people at work to assist me here. And I'm fortunate to have a company that could do that for me. There are so many, like the majority of people are not in that situation. I was talking with my sister yesterday, and she was like hearing my frustrations, and she was kind of like trying to give me the like sack the fuck up and move on and get your shit together, Steve speech. But she was also like, like, you're a smart guy. She's talking to me now, and you had a problem getting things figured out. Imagine people who are, lesser fortunate and don't have it all together, how tough it could be for them to be in a situation like this. And it's really scary. And so I don't want to be
we're really diving into the depressing topics. Let's go into how about just
bleeding heart. Yeah, it looks like John Doe has been hitting me up here. I do want to just pipe in on this here. John says, dude, Stevie Lew, print some shirts with the picture of you as the Joker clown. I want at least 2 or 3. Let me see if I think this is what he's talking about here. So I don't know what the fuck. I found this online. I got to pull it up here. Hold on. Let's see. Give me 1 second here. This is it here. Got it. So I found this picture on Twitter somewhere. I'm going to take us out real quick.
That's certainly a contrast of your personality. That's the exact. So by the way, I think that's a mirror image of the affable stoner is the evil clown.
We can still hear us here. Yeah, right. Like this is This is not me. This is not me. This is crazy. I found this picture like online, and it looks fucking. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It looks exactly like me there. But That is
Yeah, it's
not
dark.
me, but I found that, and I mean, I've been compared to the modern day character from the film It, the
The
clown
hand?
in the sewer.
Oh, that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, the Stephen King character in the more modern version of it. The Pennywise. I apologize. I call it It.
Yeah.
That was wrong of me. The character's name is Pennywise. I've been told that I really have a good Pennywise look to me. I'll float down
Yeah.
here. I don't know. Always been fascinated with the idea of the clown. As a matter of fact, I've got a picture somewhere. I'm gonna have to pull it up next time. A famous picture. There's a guy. This is a quick aside. There's a guy who goes by the name Tiger Hood down in the West Village. He literally sits there all day and hits styrofoam golf balls into the street, like around parked cars and stuff. He's clearly, on off of his meds. Sorry, but sweet guy in general. But they call him Tiger Hood, and he used to be a photographer as well. And he sells his prints. And he's got this magnificent print that I've got somewhere where it's a clown in full clown makeup and uniform being escorted into a cop car in Times Square with his hands cuffed behind his back. And like, this is probably 1986, 87. So it's like old school New York City cop car and an old school Times Square.
And the checkered hat.
Yes. Yeah, man. And I bought that print off of him and have it framed somewhere. I got to find what I did with that. But yeah, this guy, he goes by Tiger Hood. If you look up, if you just Google Tiger Hood West Village, articles come up about this guy. He's a really sweet dude. They've done documentaries about him, but he is quite a character down there in the village. So that was my aside there. Yeah, thanks, buddy. Whoever that was that had talked to me about that there. Let's see. Johnny Castile says Gino Bisconti is the golden snatch.
It's happening. Johnny Castile picked up what we were laying down with the Harry Potter and the Dabbleverse overlap. Someone has to start running with this. It would be great. Here's another one. KB's like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's enough here. And then you start pulling in the J.K. Rowling money, people.
I mean, I guess I look like Voldemort a little bit myself too. I guess, or Snape. Isn't that guy? Isn't there a Snape or something?
Wear a wizard robe is all I'm trying to say here. Let's find our connection.
AP checking and not monetized yet. Not yet. I've got the membership level done. I just got to get to the watch hours. So it's just going to take me coming in and doing fun episodes like this with the Sorcerer. I know Sorcerer, you don't have I'm about halfway there. You've got to get to 3,000 and I'm about 1,200, 1,300. I started off with nothing, just a few weeks ago. So I've seen a great level of support already, and I do seriously appreciate that. Thank you to everyone who's watching right now live, and to everyone who's watching in the future, because just watching these things at any point helps out big time. I think that's how it works. If not, I love you here right now. I know, Sorcerer, you said you don't have a ton of time left.
Yeah. So he actually, it's for the people breaking the fourth wall. I told Stevie that, like, I put my kid down to sleep. He's napping, usually does 3 hours. And my wife is like out for whatever. He started like stirring at 2:00, and I was texting my wife frantically, like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I've got this really important meeting at 2:00.
Oh no.
You gotta come back.
You better not see this.
But she was on the way home, and then they're just there doing stuff. So
okay, cool. Because I wanted to get into something really quick. I don't know. I don't think the guy is still well, let's catch up with the chat just a little more first, but then I've got something for you. $2. What's up with Cleveland comics trapped in toxic work relationships? Okay, we could maybe touch on that in a second. Carlos, that's not an actual super chat though, Carlos. That's not how that works.
That was really clever though. I like that.
He was.
I'm gonna keep on doing that, and I'll react to them like whatever money you put in. I'm into it.
Misfit saying that you must give all the money to the comedy. Yeah, you have to, but you got to send it to my Venmo or my PayPal right there, buddy. With my
or at least write it
Venmo and PayPal are open. My chats are. But yeah, let's see here. Sorcerer level with us. Does Chad belong in the zoo? Because we know who belongs in the zoo. Hold on with Chad 1 second. I've got that for you. Fish is like the Grateful Dead, a stoner band. Correct. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
that's
try
the
to
only
catch up
stoner
here.
band I
I'm
knew, which was,
behind. Therapy is for broken people, right? That's coming from Crumb. If you'd like to answer that quick, that's up to
I'd
you.
say the way to think about it is you can put effort if you think about your life as a boat.
So you're muted.
Oh,
You've gone muted.
Uh-oh.
Or did I go muted?
I think you might have got muted.
No, you're back.
Okay. Yeah, so my answer to that would be you can think about your life as a boat, and you're putting effort into it. You can either be repairing holes in your hull, or you can be trying to make it go faster. And what you're working on is a bit of makes a statement about how you see your life anyway. If you feel like you're always trying to repair your life, you're implying a certain value to your life. And if you're always trying to make your life better, you're also implying a certain type of baseline value to your life.
There you go. You heard that, Crumb Bum. Number one, Josh Denny fan. Stuttering John is Potter. No,
I'm telling you, this is a gold mine waiting to be dug up. the elusive crossover of Dabbleverse, and someone could just be super into one of them and make it rich.
Look at that. See, even Teddy thought that was an edited picture. It was not. I just found that. Unless somehow someone edited a picture of me and now that's making its rounds out there on the internet, that could be the case. And if that's
or
the
AI,
case, kind of
like an AI clown.
Yeah.
Of Stevie Lew.
Yeah, and they used my face. They're like, this is the most terrifying thing we could look at this. Misfit says if both of you mute, it would improve. That was not very nice. Okay.
Probably.
So yeah. So before we went on air, I saw that Chad Zumach was live. Now it's 3:00 on the East Coast. This was probably around 1:30 in the afternoon. He had just gone live, and honestly, it looked like he had just woke up. It looked like he had drank vodka till the early dawn and had a rough night. You could just see it in his face. And I come to find that he's currently doing a weekend with Nick Swardson, a fellow comedian who has made the rounds in the news recently about having his own alcohol issues. Do you think, Sorcerer, that maybe there could be a instance of what folks call codependence going on in this relationship between Chad Zumach and Nick Swardson, where you have two guys who clearly struggle with their handling of alcohol, but are both in this professional situation where they can kind of get fucked up, so it's okay. And maybe like they've found each other here, and that's what that is.
Well, so the first thing I'll say is, and I've mentioned this before when I've been on MLC, there's kind of a policy with psychiatrists, and I think therapists have as well, that you don't
I knew you were going to say this.
specific people, but I will answer kind of the questions more generally. So the first thing I'd say is the idea of codependency really requires a consistency or a continuity of a relationship, because that's the value that it adds is I want to be kind of pursuing a certain sets of behaviors, and in tandem or parallel with those behaviors is this relationship that either rationalizes them, repairs them as they cause consequence, or kind of changes the perspective of them for me so I can continue to perpetuate them. I'd imagine that it is hard to have necessarily a codependent relationship that's very specific if it's not fairly consistent. Now, that being said, we've seen in lots of kind of public spaces this idea of a power dynamic in entertainment creating certain relationships.
That's what I was gonna mention.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be a codependent relationship, but it is sometimes hard to, when I was a young psychiatrist working in a hospital system, it's hard to say no to the boss because you want the boss to like you, the boss pays you, the boss decides whether or not you get a promotion or another job, they send referrals. So you may be willing to do a little bit more. And it's part of the reason why I started my own practice, because I was like, I don't really enjoy that part of myself, kind of being in that relationship.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, your boss gets 1,000 views every episode and a lot of super chats. But it kind of is like, oh man, he's really got me under his thumb here. Maybe I should start doing my own practice. I see what you're saying.
But
I totally get you.
Well, I would say this though. There's a way to do it from a. Do you remember the Torgasm when Dane Cook went on?
Sure, I love that show on HBO. Yep.
Yeah, so like there was this weird thing where like that's a great example of like people being in relationships professionally and it not seeming to work out for anyone but the guy at the top of the list, you know?
Yeah.
But then you see something like the Blue Comedy Tour, the blue collar comedy guy.
Yeah.
At the time, it's just Jeff Foxworthy's kind of like the only thing, and he's kind of gone at this point. But all the other, two of the three other guys became absolutely massive, and even the one guy got a TV show.
Yes.
There's one where this dependent relationship or kind of power dynamics seem to fade away pretty quickly, and I'm not sure how they differ in terms of how do you set up a situation where the guy that you're working for is doing better than you, but eventually you do really well on your own. I'm not sure.
The therapists in LA must be fucking, oh my God, the shit that they probably have to try to sort through. I can't even imagine. There's got to be some difficult work to do there. And again, like to go back with the Nick Swardson thing, and I don't want to put you in a difficult situation, and I apologize. That was a little bit underhanded of me.
I can't stop you.
Handled it well.
I can't stop you from talking about anything. You go for it, and I'll dodge the raindrops.
Like I really do see what you're saying. How yes, they are not in a frequent enough relationship, seeing each other regularly. But what I think is that like maybe it's this thing where Nick has multiple codependent relationships lined up all around in every town that he wants to go into, and whenever he's on that stop at that place, he's hitting up his Denver, Colorado codependent, just like he's hitting up his Tampa codependent, just like he's going to hit up his New York. Well, you don't really have to have a codependent in New York. That's one of those towns where you could just fucking just walk around in the street and you could, get swept up into something. So that's where I think like, it's probably this weird thing where Nick has a certain sense of celebrity being on, TV and in movies.
And movies. I mean, he was on Reno 911 forever. He's been in a ton of movies. He was hilarious in Blades of Glory, that character he played.
Yes, he was. I got nothing against Nick Swardson besides the fact that he works with who. So, I think we could.
Well, the last thing I'll say about that is the Big J Ogerson was talking about, it was a long time ago on a Skanks episode, about how when Dave and Lewis were kind of, when he was early on, kind of that first Comedy Central special where he's in like he's got the long hair, he's much bigger. He would take the two of them on the road with him all the time because he's like, I like having my friends with me, as opposed to, he's talking about a lot of what guys he was working with would have kind of guys that would go after the opener, kind of be in the middle for them in different kind of areas or different towns. And he said he didn't really like that relationship, whereas he really liked the relationship of his two friends being with him all the time. And I wonder if that's a deliberate choice, and what kind of thing will someone say who's only working for you 3 nights in one town versus a guy who is from your hometown, you're friends with them, you know each other outside of comedy, and they've been working with you for 3 weeks now.
Yeah, and of all reports that I get from about Chad, and that sounds like a strange thing to say, but I don't know Chad personally very well. I have a lot of mutual friends though now at this point, and all reports are that if you're not his target, he's not that bad of a guy to be around. He can be fun, he could be a good time, so he would fit that profile that you just mentioned as a guy that's easy to bring around on the road. He probably knows Nick's blind spots and stuff, and knows how to like subconsciously fill him when they're hanging out in the green room or whatever. He knows what Nick's drink is or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. He knows where Nick likes to go after shows, or depending on his mood. And it can be like a fun co-pilot, I guess. So, I do want to mention that.
But to your point, in general, alcohol is this big disinhibition drug. That's part of why we use it. You go to a bar, you're nervous to talk to somebody, so you have a drink, or you feel more relaxed, whatever you want to call it. One of the problems with that, though, is as opposed to some other substances, your ability to say no to things, your ability to slow down. Once you start kind of continuing to go, it really kind of disappears with alcohol. And if you're trying not to do something, a lot of people, when I was growing up, they talked about marijuana being a gateway substance, but really it's very commonly alcohol. I can't tell you how many patients I have who struggle with cocaine, and the only time they use cocaine is when they're using alcohol.
Alcohol.
So it's
Same thing with cigarettes too. A lot of people just smoke.
Yeah.
Like I don't find myself. It's really weird. And now like we could pivot off of this. Like for me, one of my issues, which I think is not unique to myself clearly, but it's something that I would like to get into maybe just a bit, is that like a lot of times my cannabis use is reflexive of getting drunk the night before, because I found very early on that smoking cannabis is a very good hangover cure. So like I used to find myself maybe drinking a little too much the night before, and that's a problem because I'm feeling like shit the next morning. I'm drinking some water, taking an Advil, taking a hit, eating something, and I'm like, fuck, I'm back, dog. I'm back. So it kind of became like, okay, you know what? Don't smoke weed during the day. That's a problem. But then I get too drunk the night before and I lose that diligence of not smoking weed during the day because I'm like, oh, fuck, I need my, my little security
I need to
blanket
get going
to get me through. So
yeah,
that's something that, again, that's running from your using a blanket, a security sort of thing, a detachment sort of device to cope.
Well, it's interesting. Marijuana is a very unique drug in that, for a billion reasons, but one of them is that it's kind of psychologically sedating to some extent, but physiologically it increases your heart rate and increases your blood pressure. So it's this weird kind of thing where someone who is kind of getting going for the day, maybe struggling with nausea for whatever reason, and maybe struggling with like trying to keep anything down or even wanting to eat, it also kind of changes how much how dehydrated is affecting our kind of water level is actually affecting us because of the increase in the sympathetic tone. The dehydration isn't as bad, and a lot of the hangover is the dehydration component, because you're drinking a diuretic ostensibly, and you're peeing it all out, or you're third spacing a lot of it. So it makes sense. The problem is the context of the marijuana use, how long it's working, what happens when it runs out, kind of what we're doing throughout the day, how it's affecting our decision making, our behaviors. That's all one big, rigmarole afterwards. But physiologically, it makes somewhat sense why it would work.
Yeah, you've absolutely. I appreciate you even just breaching the topic with me about thinking about cannabis use and chronic cannabis use and how it can really have some hidden negative side effects, and it's stuff that like maybe a person like me in my situation should consider. And I've absolutely put some good thought to it. I'm gonna keep working on it and see where we can go with it. My therapist as well also was someone who has said, yeah, dude, you're doing a little too much here. Like maybe you want to just, relax a little bit.
My marijuana spiel is always kind of the same. The only thing that I can tell people that they probably haven't heard before, or maybe haven't heard before, is marijuana has a very unique withdrawal syndrome that nobody really understands or talks about. And it's called a delayed insomnia. So it's an insomnia that starts about a week after last use and lasts about 2 weeks. And a lot of patients that I'd have early on would say, like, yeah, I don't have a problem with marijuana. I can stop it. How long can you stop for? Oh, about a week. Well, then what happens? Well, then I kind of needed to get to sleep, or just kind of feel too anxious at night. But it's a very unique kind of withdrawal syndrome because of its delayed nature and kind of how it shows up. But the danger for me as a psychiatrist is patients between like 16 and 24 using marijuana. Incidence of psychosis are much higher. Chronically, it can affect a lot of things. But the biggest thing for me is, if you've got an apartment, a Netflix account, and enough marijuana, like it wouldn't matter to you if you worked at Wawa. You're like, this is pretty cool. But if I remove the marijuana at like 2 months later, you're like, what am I doing?
I gotta do something. Yeah, gotcha.
But it's that's the only thing that I'm always kind of encouraging people to think about. It's like at least looking at it as, let me just take a test variable. Well, this is how happy I am with my life now. If I remove this variable, am I still as happy with my life? Yeah, well then cool. Then the variable doesn't affect us. But if it does, it's something worth looking at.
Yeah, and I think also, I mean, we mentioned you did discuss that with me when I did see you in AC, and I do appreciate it, man. I do have to do much more my own, research because that's the kind of guy I am. People could tell me things until they're blue in the face. It's like until I could totally ingest it and understand it myself is when it can sometimes click. And I feel bad too because this is something I don't want to get too in depth about me here right now. Not that I'm against
Sure.
that. It's that I also feel that we kind of owe the boss,
Yeah,
Kevin Brennan,
I think
a
that's the other.
proper
Yeah,
episode.
that's
Yeah, I do not want to like. That's why I'm glad that we could talk about Chad and some other things right now, and just breach again a little bit of this cannabis topic that I think a lot of people probably connect with out there, especially fans of the Lou Nation. A lot of losers in the house put up the L.
Yeah,
Let's
I
check
do
back
like
in.
that baked in excuse for both of us. Like we would have done a better show, but we're saving it. We don't want to like look. We've got a lot of good stuff here. I've got pages and pages, but I don't want the boss man. Yeah, it's too funny.
Let's see. Not listening, Stevie. You are reading. No, no, no. I'm not reading. I'm listening to everything the doc here is saying. I'm not one who sits there and combs through the chat while I'm on. I will go check in right now and see what's going on. It looks like Misfit is compiling reports from Melton's Discord for me. Okay, thank you. I had asked you to do that, and it's a good thing that's happening. Drink some boozy, dog, coming from Crumbum. I already had a beer. I feel like, it is Sunday. It's all right to relax and have one. I had a few last night. I might have one or two later, but it's just for me, it's like I can go till 12, 15, 16. I've seen myself go all day. And it's just, at this point in my life, especially with my colitis, it's really the hangover that keeps me away. It doesn't come to the point where I do dumb things when I'm drunk anymore. It's just how shitty I feel the next day that kind of keeps me away from it. But let's see here. John Doe says, "You're a good guest when I'm sober." Okay. Crumb Bum says he's smoking weed right now, too. I love it. And then Jim Grindle says, "Is this supposed to be the big exciting guest?" I mean, I get it, Jim. You don't like an intellectual person. I'm sorry. I wanted to go a different route. I usually have Jake Hudson on. I usually have Bobo Daniel Curlin on, So I was like, let's see if we could do that whole pull the tablecloth out underneath trick. And I think we did it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's the interesting thing is you being intellectual is very interesting.
Wow. I'm going to put that on a clip. It's going to be on a T-shirt, I think. Yeah. Stevie Lew, him being intellectual is very interesting.
Yeah, it's engaging. And like even when you're like, I don't know if taking shots at it. I think that's the interesting part. Yeah, that's what I love when you're doing, whether it was on BYB or on Brennan. There's this kind of once you're like kind of focusing on something and trying to work through it, even if it gets shot down, that's the interesting part. Is hey, Stevie Lew, who's has a bong like simmering next to him, and there's like an Art Deco like I don't even know if that light. It's a really cool light, but like does not look at the guy and be like, well, maybe it's the derivative we should be taking of the square root. Like what?
Yeah, this is like some sort of like brass. It was like some champagne company from like the 1920s that made these promotional.
Yeah, so cool. I love Art Deco.
I found on the street, and I was able to get it working again. So yeah, it is some pretty cool shit.
That's awesome.
Thank you, buddy. Look at this. Gummy Chainsaw checking in saying Stevie Pothead artwork on the list. Yeah, Gummy Chainsaw made some. See, I have like this lanyard that I use for my vape, and people, of course, immediately keyed in on that, and we're like, "Come on, Jesus Christ, man! A lanyard for your weed vape?" And yeah, I do because it's practical. I often lose them, and also if they're on their side, they get clogged. So I found a way to keep it on me at all times, upright. And now we're going to make Stevie Lew weed logo branded lanyards. It looks
It
like.
just makes sense. You should have a drink holder connector too. You keep a beer upright, hands free. The one arm, the one arm thing. Now you can drink the beer, put it down, and still use your hand.
This is why I love workshopping things with you. I can have multiple attachments that,
Yeah.
depending on what day of the week or what party you're going to, maybe it's a bowl of nacho cheese that you
Maybe.
want to have.
You've got it's a little satchel you dip down. It Ziplocs closed. If you break your arm, you can put a loop. You're holding your arm up on it.
I hope no one else breaks their arm out there, because it's not fun.
Yeah.
But you know what? Okay. This is incredible. This is kind of full circle. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to push much past after this, but this is amazing. At the last fish festival I was at, now this was like 2016. So this was a couple years ago now, but I had ingested some pretty good psychedelics. Let's just leave it at that. You know what I mean? And it was after the music had ended. We were all hanging out at someone's campsite, just grooving. And I came up with this idea for a party game, more or less, for like a social setting. This is what it is. The name is Not Yo Cheese. So it's like nacho cheese is the name of the game. But here's what it is. So everyone comes to the party with their own homemade specialty dip. And everyone who comes to the party gets a bunch of Tostitos. So basically, you want to have a conversation with the person who's got the best, most exotic type of dip, and the people that just go and get simple fucking Tostitos, mild, salsa, are just going to be kind of to themselves, looking at their shoes, where the guy who makes a really truffle oil bean dip is going to be everyone wants to fucking hang with him, and then he starts hitting their shit up. And I think it's just a way to help socially engineer people to really bring better potluck.
Okay. But what's the game? I don't understand what the game
That's it. That's the game. It's shit. Oh man, my B dip's gone already. I'm glad I got backup, because I'm the coolest motherfucker.
So you're wearing the dip.
Yeah, you're wearing the dip. Yeah, you've got a pouch, so people just come up and they're like, "Oh yeah, so tell me a little bit of your practice. How are things?"
Okay, all right. So you're wearing the dip, and
you know what I mean? I'm just dipping out of your hip.
So right now. I'm imagining a bib that probably goes above your, because you want it to not, because people are going to splash unless everybody.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you would get some splash back.
You want a bit of a landing thing here.
You just come home and you got this driblets of all sorts of.
Truffle oil and white.
Yeah, refried beans have that oily to them. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I like it. I think I'm also really starting to worry about the fact that I said yes to going to this. I thought it was just a concert, and it sounds like it's a big. That was the only thing I'm like. You're like, when I was at a fish festival in 2017.
Yeah. Oh no. I did things a little different than most. I found myself at one point after. So I was doing different. I don't want to get into what I was doing, ingesting, but let's say I was just staying up late each night. And at one point I found myself it was a hollowed out school bus. So these people had a school bus that had been no more seats, and they all had dreadlocks, very thick dreadlocks. And I was playing CeeLo, we call it, it's 3-card dice. And I basically took these dreadlocks for everything that they had inside some bus until 6 a.m. And just love the hell out of it. I was just letting it ride, and I had the lucky hand. And at one point these guys were okay, I was let's go for all in. What do you got? And he was I've got this custom made Jerry Garcia t-shirt that my girl made, man. This is one of a kind. I was all right, put it in. Let's do it, man. I had $250 and we rolled. Wow. And I won the whole thing, and I walked off into the sunset. It was so that's the kind of weird shit that you can get into at a fish festival.
Gotcha.
I'm going to try to go, I think, this year again. And I think I'm out of that party boy sort of
Well,
lifestyle.
if you go, come find me. I'll be reading a book,
Oh,
waiting for
100%.
my.
Yeah, or you should be just taking notes because you will, I think, be exposed to some incredible human nature subject.
So
So,
I will say, I own or founded a company with a couple other doctors we're going to be using hallucinogens and psychedelics to treat kind of mental health, substances, kind of the whole thing. And we had done it like 3 years ago when psilocybin looked like it was onboarding like in 2023, but there was a study that kind of derailed it. But LSD just got fast tracked by the FDA about like 8 days ago for generalized anxiety disorder. So it's interesting. We actually opened or bought the facility, kind of outfitted it, thinking it was going to be imminent, and then
so you have to
there was a
produce
delay.
your own.
No, so the reason that the LSD seems to be, and I think will move a lot faster, is they're already using a derivative production molecule for the testing, whereas with the psilocybin they were using multiple sources of just kind of distilled and processed psilocin, which is the kind of first metabolite. But
Yep,
there was nothing you could patent, whereas with the LSD, they found a molecule that they can make and then patent, and then there's a pharmaceutical company that will sell it. So it's more likely it's going to get FDA approved.
very cool.
But as soon as it does, or even gets close to, I'm sure I'll, just anonymously advertise on all these places on here just as a gag. But we're quite well versed in or at least I'm the addiction expert in the three of us. The other guy's an ICU doctor, and the other one's a pediatrician.
Wow.
So we kind of have all the
You've got these different. Yeah, you kind of all form like Voltron
yeah
to jump into that. Yeah, because I mean, I hate to say it, like I bet you there are uses in very extreme cases that young children may have some sort of benefit to a extremely microdosed dosage, whether it be seizure disorder, whether it be all sorts of just neurological issues that are out there. I just don't want to advocate and say, yeah, let's dose the children, motherfucker, like that. You know what I mean? But like, if there is some sort of general benefit that could come to someone's overall well-being in life existence, it's like, come on, man, let's fucking see. Let's see at least.
Well, I'd say the reason that the pediatrician's on there, other than the three of us are just really good friends.
Sorry, I keyed in on that for some reason.
Yeah. So the pediatrician, he's an ER. He works in an emergency room in a adolescent emergency room. So he's like a emergency doctor on steroids because families like really freak out when their kids are in trouble. So he's kind of the rescue, like break glass in case of emergency guy, because he understands. Yeah, he understands really complicated physiology. With kids, you've got to change the fluids. You have to understand how like different components of our biology work at a younger age, and a lot of what's getting approved for these substances are usually it's certainly not in the geriatric population yet. So he's just a really, really smart guy that I ended up in medical school with, and was a good time. So the three of us are probably
it's good to get professionals involved in this sort of stuff too, because from what I understand, there are a lot of gray market. There are side businesses opening up that are
that's the thing that's why we're really confident is, if you saw a TV ad and it's like, hey, we're all three doctors that you can relate to and like went to medical school, and we're going to be there when you're doing this, and like blah blah, versus, hey, I'm like doing therapy and I'll tell you where to get it, you can come to my like house, and
on
it's
Friday
like,
night at 8 we're gonna all have a controlled thing. It's
right.
like,
and I don't begrudge anyone for doing
$500 donation,
right.
And you're like, what the
I think it would just be different if you're like, oh, there's like three, like this look like three relatively normal people and they all went to medical school. If I'm gonna try this, I'll go try that there.
Right. Yeah, if we can get breakthroughs for people struggling, then I'm for it. I think enough people out there are for it. That's cool.
Yeah.
It
Well,
looks
so
like
speaking
even
of breakthrough, my wife may have broken through the door with a hatchet.
sweet. Sweet.
Yeah.
So that's totally cool, man. I know you probably don't have any plugs to
No.
give, which is totally fine. And I do really appreciate your time, man. I think we should not like do this all the time, but every once in a while, I think it
Yeah.
would be good to check in. Maybe if like big things happen in our universe, we can communicate. And I would never want to try to like stick you to a schedule because I know you're a very busy
No,
man,
and I thought this
as am
worked
I.
really well
So
because there's so much going on in like the Dabble, MLC, whatever. That's actually also has nothing to do with the normal topics. That I thought it was worth. There's a lot of runoff here. It was worth kind of squeegeeing up and seeing what was going on.
yeah, hey, like one of my favorite things, it was called Love Phones in New York City for a long time. And then there was Love Lines with Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla. I think that the format of a guy with a medical background and a straight guy with clearly a screw loose is a formula that will always have eyeballs that want to watch. So thank you very much for
Wait,
giving me your time, bud. And
quick
yeah,
question: do you
yeah.
know a straight guy?
Oh, see, and he can put it right back on me when he needs to. That's why
I
I love
had,
him.
that was.
Yes,
I
yes, that's
appreciate
you
your
got to leave
time as
on top
well.
like that,
Yeah, yeah,
Sorcerer.
that felt
So,
like I'm gonna eat out on that. I hope that
dude,
went
yeah,
well.
and I got you here all set, man. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, although it's only a few hours left, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll see me hopefully soon on MLC.
Cool, cool. Good to
Peace,
see you.
bud.
Good to talk to you. Thanks so
Later.
much for this. A lot of
You
fun. I
got it, dude.
appreciate it.
You're the man. Peace. That is the Sorcerer, ladies and gentlemen. I would give him a round of applause, but actually, that doesn't feel so bad. That would have hurt. That would have hurt real bad a couple days ago, and I'm not going to keep doing that. Um, but yeah, what a gentleman! What a gentleman and a scholar that guy is. And yeah, we put this together kind of last minute, as you could see here. The Sorcerer and the Stoner Show. Womp womp womp. So there you have it. Doing some arm exercises. People were getting mad at me the other day for putting my arm up the whole time on MLC. That's just because at the time it hurt if I had it below, I guess, my heart. That's how that works. So if you keep it up, it doesn't throb, but it's been getting better. I can leave it down for some time now and it doesn't hurt. Let's go back and see if I missed any chat. And we'll also look at that. See, you're killing it, Stevie. Thank you, Crumb Bum. Single Mother of Five Sorcerer. Is it good or bad to go live just to be a super long intro playing for too long? Oh, I think that's about me. Single Mother of Five. I mean, come on, buddy. I'm playing the music that I like. Trying to milk some viewer hours out of it. I get it. I got to get some people on board. I got to get the link out there. Stop breaking he's breaking my chops. Stop. Single Mother of Five. He hates my guts. He used to like me, but now he hates my guts. Sorcerer, can you help us with the article? Marijuana use as little as once a month linked to higher risk of heart attack and stroke. What's the validity to this? I can answer that for him. I know that he's probably like, no, please, Stevie, do not answer that for me. Please don't ever answer anything for me, ever. But I do think that he did kind of touch on that. Just serendipitously, he said that cannabis does increase your heart rate and your blood pressure. Which is something that I think maybe isn't as intuitive, especially people think of the stoner as a lethargic, relaxed, couch locked idiot. Well, when he's smoking, his heart rate is actually increased, his blood pressure is increased. And whenever that occurs, you're going to have to see a higher risk of heart attack and stroke. That's just logic there. And I don't take a doctor because I certainly am not one to put two and two together there. Stevie is right about the stoner comic with no kids. I'm a stoner with 3 kids and run a business. See, putting me down. I like it. Gummy Chainsaw Rules is right. Theo is over here. Oh shit. Okay, see, pick something up off the ground with my bad hand, and it only hurts a little bit. Good shit. Theo says, "Don't let Stancil and Ski Mask push you around, buddy." I mean, what? These guys are getting blacked out drunk, and that's a thing. I don't get it. John Doe, LSD, don't remind me. Yeah, man. What is like? There was a great book by Michael Pollan called Something Your Mind. Fuck, I could see it on my bookshelf in the other room. Opening your mind? Hold on. Fuck. Michael, opening up the window to your mind? Michael. Yeah, there was a book that came out a couple of years ago. How to Change Your Mind. Thank you. Let me see if I can pull this up for us here. Yeah, here we go. Let's pull this up. A book, Michael Pollan's How to Change Your Mind. Oh, looks like there was a Netflix docu-series as well. I personally would suggest the book. The book was good. How to Change Your Mind. What the new science of psychedelics teaches us about consciousness, dying, addiction, depression, and transcendence. I actually have the hardcover myself. He's a great author. He's written a bunch of stuff before. Nothing else that I've read of his. He did one about like the meat industry. I think that's supposed to be pretty influential. And I love myself a good burger, just like Mike Fanoia. So I'm not so ready to be having my mind changed about eating meat so much yet. But this shit's cool. How to Change Your Mind. I would absolutely suggest taking a look at it. Man, where's my weed? I'm feeling my blood pressure drop. Squashed. I thought it was squashed. John Doe. Yeah, JD. I guess it is squashed between me and Ray. I hope he's good. Happy Saint Patty's Husey. Oh wow, he's Husey here. Look at that. Thank you, my love. Praise Allah. Yeah, this is good. Totally running out of steam here. Look at that. Aloha snack bar. Great. Hey, don't bash drinking. I'm suing you. Yeah, I guess that's Husey's bit. I'm actually gonna go have a drink. I think I had one, and I'm in the mood for another. So it is the official St. Patrick's Day. So if you are one who drinks, it's probably time to go enjoy a Guinness and think of your old father and your mother over in the homeland. Because I'll tell you one thing about a man that come from Ireland and live in America. He don't take no shit from nobody. He's gonna work with his hands. Yeah, you heard that? He's gonna work with his hands. He's gonna drink some whiskey, and if he drinks his whiskey and he works with his hands, then what are you gonna do? He's gonna be okay, lad. He's gonna be okay, boyo. Boyo, pass me another Guinness, boyo. Boyo, as a matter of fact, give me 2 Guinness and a Jameson. I need to fucking drink some Jameson right now because you know what, boyo? It's not going well for me right now, boyo. The fucking arm is fucking fucked, boyo. You understand? It's fucked. And we don't fucking, I got a fucking guy that fucking owes me about fucking $3,000 for a goddamn carpentry job that I fucking did 3 years ago. 3 fucking years ago, man. So I'm gonna go fucking have a Guinness. I'm gonna go fucking try to find me old lady, and I'm gonna talk to you later. Okay? And if fucking Husey's out there, Husey, I got fucking something to fucking tell you, lad. Okay? Because you fucking come around here and you fucking start, don't let fucking shit, lad. You fucking start